Hello guys, I'm Bethany. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here and I'm so excited about today's video. It's gonna be so much fun. As I usually do with book recommendation videos, I have books surrounding me. I have books everywhere. I do need to address something, and that is my head. So I don't know if you can see, I can see very clearly in my viewfinder this bruise on my head. I literally was getting in my car earlier and smacked my head with the car door. So I have a huge bruise and I didn't put any makeup or anything really on it because it hurts so bad. So just ignore that. But today I'm gonna be telling you my favorite series of all time. I'm so excited because I feel like I've gotten into my series era, to be honest. I've read so many series in the past year and I wanted to tell you my favorite ones of the ones that I've read. So this is like my top tier series. Like if you're gonna start a series, it should be one of these because they are so good. So I have some fantasy and then I have a lot of romance. So mostly the romance ones are interconnected standalones. So technically you can read them not in a series, but I personally recommend reading them in a series. And I think they're just really good books, like in general. Like I really like the series, even though they're like interconnected standalones, you know what I mean? If it says like in the Goodreads, like #1 and #2, I'm considering it a series and I'm gonna recommend it. So first, I'm going to tell you my favorite series of all time. And you're probably not gonna be surprised by this because I talk about it all the time. I'm being so dramatic with my introduction of the series, the Shatter Me series. No one's surprised. I feel like everyone expected this. This is probably my #1, not probably, definitely my #1 series of all time. I loved it so much. It was so good. I'm gonna set it down because it's so heavy. And I'm just gonna show you the book or the first book. This series literally took over my life in December. I read this one in November and I read one of the novellas in November and then I got the rest for Christmas and I binged it pretty much in a week. So I loved it so much. This is a like fantasy dystopian series, but there's a ton of romance in it, which I loved. And I've come to realize that I love romance and fantasy, like dystopian vibes, because the stakes are so high, the angst is so high. So like it makes the romance so much better because like you could die at any moment and it just makes the romance, like when they reunite, so good. Oh my goodness, so good. So this series is literally incredible. It's basically about this girl named Juliet. She has lethal touch, so when she touches someone, they could die. She could kill them. And because of that, she's put in a mental asylum by the like government that has taken over, the reestablishment. That is what the first book is about, but literally this series takes like all kinds of turns as you keep reading it, and I highly recommend it. I think it's so good. I gave the highest ratings was to these. I gave this one a 4.5. I loved especially like that second half of this one, so good. And then this one is my favorite in the series, Ignite Me. Did I even say this is Unravel Me, which is the third book in the series if you're not counting the novellas. And this is my favorite of the series. I gave this 5 stars. It was so good. The romance in this is so good. Highly recommend you read the series, and I have a whole review on my bookstagram if you want to see it with the book order and my thoughts, what I rated each book, the novellas, like everything like that, because it's kind of confusing. I had to Google the order of the Shatter Me series, like to be able to like read it with the, what am I trying to say? Try to read it with the novellas because these are like binded up and you like read them separately. Anyways, so you can go on my Instagram if you want to see a like book order for this, but you should read this. If you read any of this series, you should read this one because it's so good. I think about it all the time. Aaron Warner, no one will compete ever with him. I love him so much. And now I'm going to show you my sweatshirt that I'm wearing. I'm obsessed with it. It says in my Shatter Me era. I'm always in my Shatter Me era, to be honest. And on the back, can you see? Let me turn around. Is all the quotes from the book, and I'm obsessed with it. It's from Enlightened Soul Co on Instagram. I actually won her giveaway and she sent this to me, and I'm so excited about it because I love Shatter Me so much. So we'll link the sweatshirt below if you want to buy it. But also you should just read these. Also, I haven't really addressed this in a video, but I made a Amazon storefront. So if you want to find any of these books, I will link them, like my Amazon storefront below. I will actually make a like folder or whatever with all my series, so it's easier to find these. These are definitely in like just like my favorite romances, my favorite fantasy, but I'll do one with my favorite series so you can easily find them if you want to buy them. So anyway, love that series so much. Now on to more fantasy. No one's surprised. Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. This is the Dance of Thieves duology, and it is so good. Like literally flew through these books so quickly. It's basically like an enemies to lovers fantasy. That's all I really can tell you because it's kind of confusing, to be honest. I feel like if you read the back of fantasy, you don't really know what's going on. You just gotta read it. These are both YA, so no spice, or like Shatter Me as you read gets spicier, but still like very minimal. You know, these are no spice. And this one I gave a 4.5. This is a 5. And this one, like you're on the edge of your seat the entire time, and it's just so good. Like the romance is so good. The fantasy isn't confusing. I feel like if you are getting into fantasy, these two series are a great place to start because they're very easy to read. So I love this so much. I think about it all the time, and I text my friend about it all the time. I'm like, okay, so we need to talk about Jason Causey. Kazi this week because we haven't talked about him recently and I'm obsessed with him. So anyways, highly recommend. And then I'm adding this because I have a feeling it's gonna be a favorite even though I haven't finished it. So that is Defy the Night. And I'm currently reading the second one, which is Defend the Dawn. This is a YA fantasy series and the third one comes out next January. I love this one. I give it 5 stars, which is saying a lot when it comes to like fantasy, or I feel like I've been giving 5 stars not as frequently because I want my 5 stars to like mean something. So it means something that I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it so much. It's basically like about this kingdom and these sectors and they're being run down by this illness and there's only one thing that can cure the illness. And you know, you just go from there. But I have a feeling this is going to be one of my favorite series and I'm very excited to finish the second one. Hopefully by the time this video is up, I will have finished the second one and I can like put a nice little text over me to say, I love the second one. You know, really, really, really loved it. Highly recommend. It's so good. So good. No spice in these as well. We love that. Next, we're moving on to the romance. And my number one favorite romance series, technically romance, is the Magnolia Parks universe. I know, you're probably not surprised because I talk about these books all the time, but I recently got Daisy Hates in the mail because I read it on Kindle Unlimited, so I've ordered the physical copy so I could have all 4 of them, and I took a picture for my bookstagram if you want to see a full review. And here they are. They're beautiful. I'm obsessed with this series. It's so beautiful. First off, the covers are stunning. I guess I can help you with the order. Magnolia Parks is the first one. Second one, Daisy Hates. Third one, Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. Fourth one, Daisy Hates, The Great Undoing. You do need to read them in order. Seeing people that are like, can you just go to The Long Way Home and skip Daisy Hates? No, you cannot do that. You should read them in order. You're gonna have the best experience reading them in order because the Daisy Hates books are the same timeline as the Magnolia Parks books, just from different points of view. So Magnolia Parks is told from Magnolia and BJ's point of view, and then Daisy Hates is Christian, Daisy, and Julian. So you're getting their points of view of things that happen in Magnolia Parks. I literally can't speak. But you also get things that like don't happen in those, and you get their own story. And Daisy Hates is more like a mafia romance because Julian is a like gang lord kind of thing for art. He steals art, so that's interesting. But I just love these books so much. They are like toxic in a lot of ways, but I feel like it's so human. Like if you're wanting a romance that's like a typical romance, I have some other recommendations for you. This is not that. This is definitely like real and raw, and I feel like you just like see people's like flaws and people making mistakes but wanting to do better, wanting to learn from it, and like forgiveness. I feel like these characters do a lot of things and the other like people forgive them in a lot of ways. And you might think like that's not forgivable, but like that reminds me of how God, like I do things that shouldn't be forgivable, but God forgives me. A lot of hard things happen in these books, and when that happens to me, like hard things happen to me, I have my God or my savior to turn to. So anyways, go on a spiritual route, but they're also super entertaining if you just want a good entertaining read, but they will break your heart. I'm just letting you know ahead of time, they will break your heart. So just be prepared for that. I have a few of these I don't own. Like I don't own all the series, so I'll like put them on the screen obviously. So all of these are interconnected standalones. I love them anyways. You don't have to read them in order, but I would recommend it because I think you'll get the best experience. So first is by Abby Jimenez, and it's the Friend Zone series. I feel like this is very underrated and it's so good. A lot of people are reading Part of Your World, and obviously my favorite book. One of my favorite books is Yours Truly, which comes out in April, but these are her first books, so it's my literally, why can't I speak? It's the Friend Zone, and then the Happy Ever After playlist, and then Life's Too Short. So I loved all these. I gave them all 5 stars. I thought they were so good. And Abby Jimenez is so good about writing like hard topics but making it lighthearted, which I really love about her book. So I highly recommend it if you're just wanting a good, fun, easy romance with a little bit of emotion in there, but not too much. This is the book series for you. There is spice in these books. Oh, I didn't say about Magnolia Parks. So the Magnolia Parks universe is mostly closed door. You're not really going to see any explicit scenes, but there is a bit of profanity, specifically in the Magnolia Parks books. I feel like BJ cusses a good bit, but for me personally, I feel like I just like skip over it and don't even think about it. But there is a good bit of profanity, and there is like sexual references, and there's a lot of like sexual, like almost like metaphors. I feel like she writes in metaphors. Like her writing is very lyrical, so you're getting more of like a metaphor about a situation instead of like very explicit details, and it's pretty much all fade to black. Does that make sense? Anyways, these books have spice in them, but not like a ton, so I loved it. So good. And then I have a couple series that that aren't really like new in the slightest, but I read them like last year and they're Sarah Adams' backlist. So she has the It Happened in Charleston series, which is The Match and the Enemy. Loved both of these so much. And then she has the It Happened in Nashville series with The Off-Limits Rule and The Temporary Roomie. I do have this one because my friend sent it to me. She got an extra copy, or she had an extra copy and she mailed it to me, and I'm so thankful because I love this book so much. I really want to reread it and annotate it, but yeah, I love those series. They're so good. They're closed door. And if you like any of her new books, like The Cheat Sheet, When in Rome, you would love these books. They're just as good in my opinion. I mean, I feel like every book of hers gets better, but I truly think these books are so good. I think The Match is like a single dad trope. The Enemy is like a high school enemies type situation. The Off-Limits Rule is a brother's best friend, and then The Temporary Roomie is best friend's brother, I'm pretty sure, and like they stay in the same house. I think this is one of my favorites of all four. Loved it so much. So good. Next, also from Sarah Adams, this is in a series, When in Rome, in the Rome, Kentucky series, and the next one is Practice Makes Perfect, and I've already read it. It comes out in May, and it's so good, like the best that she's written. So I'm just recommending this to you now so you can read When in Rome, and then when that book comes out, you can read it because they're so good. This is a small town romance. This girl, Amelia, is a pop star. She's a very famous celebrity, and she is burnt out. She wants to get out of town, and she goes to Rome, Kentucky because she loves Audrey Hepburn, and in her film, Roman Holiday, she goes to Rome, Italy. She goes to Rome, Kentucky in this book. That's kind of how the theme goes, and I think all of these books are based on a Audrey Hepburn film, which is cool. She gets there, her car breaks down in front of a pie shop owner's house, and she ends up staying because, you know, her car's broke down. Closed door. Love this so much. I really want to reread it. I read it literally basically in one sitting, and I did the same with Practice Makes Perfect, pretty much. So highly recommend, and I'm just giving it to you now because you need to read this, you need to read that one when it comes out, and then she's coming out with 2 more in the series. So okay, while we're talking about Sarah Adams, I wanted to mention The Cheat Sheet because she's coming out with a sequel, the rule book, in I think this year, end of this year. So you should read this. It's a football romance with a famous football player and this girl who teaches ballet, and they're best friends to lovers. So good. Next is the Bellinger sisters. I think that's what it's called. It is It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker. I love these books so much. They're small town. The first one is like Grumpy Sunshine. They are very spicy, so just be aware of that. But I loved it so much. It's one of my favorite books of last year. Well, a lot of these were my favorite books of last year, but you know, the first one is about Brennan and Piper, and Piper's like a socialite, and she goes to the small town where her late father like owns this business, and she meets Brennan, who is a fisherman, like a crab fisherman. And this one is about Fox and Hannah, Piper's sister Hannah, and Brennan's best friend Fox. And I think I like this one more, but I loved it so much. Highly recommend. Next, we have a couple that I do not own. First is the Knock 'Em Out series. I love this series so much. The third one comes out in September, and I'm so excited for that book. It's gonna be so good. But this is Things We Never Got Over and Things We Hide from the Light. I just finished Things We Hide from the Light recently, like a few days ago, this week. I finished it, and it's so good. I love both of these books. I think they're so good. They're small town, found family, but there's also a mystery plot in there. Highly recommend. So good. I feel like they are long, but they make sense that they're long because there is a mystery subplot, and they don't feel long. They really like fly by when you're reading them, and the romance is so good, and I cannot wait for the third book. Like, she's been like teasing these characters in the first 2 books, and I'm like, I need to know what's going on with them. So I'm so excited for the third one, and they're on Kindle Unlimited. I should say that. All the Sarah Adams backlist is on Kindle Unlimited. Magnolia Parks and Days Hate's also on Kindle Unlimited. Dance of Thieves duology is on Kindle Unlimited. I've been talking too long. I'm struggling. But yeah, so good. And then the last one is the Love Light series. So this is Love Light Farms, In the Weeds, and Mixed Signals. She's also coming out with a new one called Business Casual that comes out next year, which I'm very excited about. But this is a interconnected standalone series based in a small town. I feel like all these books are small towns. And it's just so cute. Like, it's a Christmas tree farm and like this little flower shop. Love Light Farms is best friends to lovers. In the Weeds is kind of like a second chance romance with a celebrity. And then Mixed Signals is a like friends to lovers fake dating kind of thing. Not fake dating, like they're learning how to date. And then I'm not sure what Business Casual is gonna be about, but loved all of them so much. So good. They are spicy. I feel like they're not as spicy as these, but they are decently spicy, so just be aware. But loved it so much, as I have all of these books. So that is all. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed seeing all my favorite series. These are all so good. I highly recommend them. And I feel like if you have read a book that I recommended before and you enjoyed it, you would enjoy any of these because they're so good. And If you have any questions about any of them, like order, things like that, just let me know, comment, DM me, all the things. But I also have reviews for a good bit of these on my Bookstagram if you need like an easier, accessible place to find that information. So anyways, that is all. I hope you enjoyed. I'm so thankful for you, and I just love filming these videos and getting to talk about books. It's so fun, and I hope that you read these books and that you love them. Let me know if you do, and we can talk about them together. But I think that's all, and I'll see you very soon for my next video. Bye.